Looking like a snack. Hurry up, get in, hell yeah. Come with me on this mission. Riding down the cars, I want up for sure. You said make a lead, I said pass you. Grab bars that you never been before. Put you in provocateur, girl, I made you need more. You said you left your ex, that you was always gassing. You said before me, you ain't this happened. You took an L with him and went it ever since. You hit my phone, I'm on my way, I cancel plans. All right, we got sound over here on YouTube. Hey, Betty Boo. I didn't know what no sound going on. I do it on Facebook too, although I am going to stop doing it on Facebook for a while. I'm going to start doing it more on just strictly YouTube, trying to build up the YouTube subscribers, because if you do it on Facebook and YouTube, people aren't going to go check the YouTube. They're just going to be like, oh, it's on Facebook, and, people busy. Is it raining outside? Not only is it raining, it's raining hard. Got to get out there and dodge raindrops. It's pouring here, Tone. I just heard it. What'd you say, Leonard? What was the first love that God said we left? I don't know. What is it? We are back live and direct. Look, and I like to say, feeling better than I ever felt before, because, I always want to make progression, even mentally when I get up. I want to just mentally progress. I want to progress in knowledge. I even want to progress in the capability of being able to just listen to people sometimes. Being able to listen to people sometimes is very, very important. I am reading a book called Talking to Strangers by Malcolm Gladwell. And I got the book recommendation actually from Paris Ely. And it was a great book recommendation. And I've been learning a lot about communication and learning when to when to hold them, when to fold them, why people believe the things that they believe. Why sometimes we hold on to stuff that we believe, even when it may not be true or if it doesn't add up. And look, and earlier we were talking about the lady that worked for MSNBC. Said the words, some people are saying Nicker or Nigger. And at this point, I'll be honest with you, I believe it comes down to what you want to hear. If that's something that's on your mind, and if you're being objective, I think it's hard for you to be able to just clearly delineate what she's saying just based on the audio. It's very hard. And even at that, I'll be honest with you, if she did accidentally mix up the two words, she could have possibly said the words with the two G's. Am I saying that she said purpose or that's what's in her heart? No, I'm not, because I don't know what's in her heart. Am I going to say that this is what she says when she's with her friends? No, I'm not going to say that. Am I going to say that's a possibility? It is a possibility. It is very much a possibility. What you say, Leonard? Leonard, you said everybody looking for love. All right. What you say? What you say, Marcus? You say, fam. We still on the white lady calling Kobe the N word. Well, look, yeah, I don't think that. And she wasn't talking about Kobe. She was talking about the Lakers. And again, if you got a feed in your ear, you got a teleprompter running across you. She's from New York, so I don't know if the Knicks were in her mind. I don't know. I don't know. It's too complex for me to actually say whether or not she meant to say it. I don't know. Do I think it's possible again? Absolutely. But this is my question. We are talking about racism that we can't quantify when there is so much racism that we can quantify. There's so much that we can see clearly, and this is my thing. We are going back and forth about something that's very subjective when CNN clearly decided that they wanted to play about every bad thing that Kobe Bryant was accused of 15, 20 years ago. Now, to me, you should be more outraged about that. ESPN did it as well, but nobody's going to say nothing about them because that's what you like. We got a caller on the line. Let me let the caller come through. Caller, what's on your mind?
Yeah, man. I just want to talk about what's her name, Allison or whatnot.
Yeah.
Slip up, man.
Okay, go ahead.
And my mom not a slip up because I know the difference between knickers and the hard G's, and it sounded like she said the hard G to me in my ears. I listened to it at least 20, 30 times.
Okay, now let me ask you this. Do you think she did it on purpose?
Honestly, I believe she tried. You know what I'm saying? I'm very opinionated. You know what I'm saying? I stick to my guns. My opinion, she stood it in there because I have numerous, you know what I'm saying, numerous friends on Facebook that's bashed Kobe, and all they saying is, you know what I'm saying, his allegations from years ago with the young lady, you know what I'm saying, or whatnot, accusing him of rape, but then still having three other men semen inside of her. You know what I'm saying? So I think, you know what I'm saying, it's all just to attack his character in a way.
Okay. Okay, so let me ask you this. You think that this lady who had just got the job on national TV decided that she didn't like Kobe Bryant so much that she was going to go out and say the Los Angeles Knickers or whatever classification, whatever it is, you think she had that much disdain for Kobe Bryant?
I believe so. I don't think it's just Kobe in general. She didn't say Kobe, the Los Angeles Knickers. She said she was talking about the complete team, which is what, 85, 90% black.
All right, and what is the ownership?
Huh?
What is the ownership of the Lakers?
We know what the ownership is. What's the ownership of 90% of the team?
Right. And so look. I hear what you're saying. I do hear what you're saying. I am just trying to grapple with the. So let me ask you this: what you're saying is, do you know any of this, or is this just your internal feeling?
No, like I said, this is my opinion. I'm opinionated.
Right. And see, and this is what I'm saying. You being opinionated and having an opinion, I agree with wholeheartedly. I think you should have what she's saying with her friends, and then we got to talk about it like this too. There are different sides to what people think that she did. You have some people who think that she did it on purpose. You have some people who think it was a Freudian slip, that she just says it when she's with her friends and it slipped out. Then you have some people who think it was a complete accident. And so when you have these people, and you have so many varying people with so many varying, points of view on it, how can somebody say which one is exactly right and which one is exactly wrong without knowing the lady?
Yeah, I understand that. I feel in my mind, you're not going to say something on accident that you never say.
I don't know, man. I'm going to be honest with you. I've done it a few times on the radio, trying to say one word and trying to get out another word at the same time. Like I'm guilty. I look at the freeway because they leave the blinds open. You there?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm
You calling the homie? Put him through too. But I always I'll look out the window and sometimes I'll be looking at something and I'll say something and I'll try to correct my word at the end and it come out as a word that I've never said or a word that doesn't really mean a word. But these things happen. And my only thing is this: it's not that I'm defending her. I do want to make sure though, or it could be you on the other side of that one day. It could be me that say something that's not really on my mind or on my heart. But since we're both opinionated people, we might be giving our opinion and talking, and the next day we walk into work and get fired over something we didn't necessarily mean. And there's a lot of people who are saying, "I know for a fact this is what she means." My whole thing is it's hard to say that,
but her.
And that's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
Are just opinions.
Right.
Opinionated people criticizing her mistake or, you know what I'm saying? Honestly, I believe, you know what I'm saying, it may have been a slip, you know what I'm saying? But at the same time, it's like, I don't believe that that's going to come out exactly that. Because I've slipped up and made a couple, said I was going to say one word.
Start saying Knicks and then say Lakers in the middle.
Yeah, but
try it. Start saying Knicks and then say Lakers in the middle.
That's like a knicker. That's like knickers.
See, wait. Now let me ask you: do you know how close that sounds? Now, mind you, you're saying it full well knowing what you're about to say, also knowing how you want the inflection to sound. Now, imagine you just rolling and you talking and you thinking about Knicks and trying to say the Lakers and you say Knickers. All I'm saying is. It's possible. Now, am I saying it's impossible that she's just a outright racist and these are the things she say when she talk like we talk? No, I'm not saying that she don't, because that's possible too. That's very possible.
What's going on within her four walls at home, within her mind, within her circles of inner people or inner friends or whatnot. Yeah. Who knows what they talk about? But honestly, in my mind,
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I believe that if it was an accident, it's the word that she says amongst her friends.
Now I could dig that, and I can understand how you could come to that to that conclusion, because Freudian slips are slips of things that you already think. And so I can understand that. What is the possibility of putting those two words together at that point in time and actually saying that? And so that's why I'm not saying it's impossible. You see, I think sometimes people get me confused when I say things like, I don't think it's impossible, but I'm not saying that she did. I'm not saying she didn't. I just don't know. And me being someone that's going to get out here and sit behind the microphone and start telling people, what I think is right and what I think is wrong, I think it's dangerous for me to just say something as a matter of fact if I don't know the facts. You know what I'm saying? Now, if I'm scrolling through the paper
that would
tomorrow,
be kind of remedial.
Yeah, and then if I have to take it back, come to find out that she's married to a brother, and I don't say that don't necessarily mean nothing, but there can be things that come out that contradict everything that I'm saying. Then I'm gonna have to eat those words. And so at this point, all I'm saying is, if she have somebody that come out and be like, look, this is what she's been doing, or a recording, because I'm sure that people are combing through her information right now.
Yeah.
If it come back that this is a pattern, then Marcus, fire up the barbecue.
Yeah. Fire her, please.
Fire up the barbecue. We about to toast this lady. But
honestly, that type of mistake is a mistake that shouldn't be made, especially if you're a professional on live TV. You're on MSNBC, one of the biggest networks that control millions of people's thoughts and narrative on what's going on in the country and in the world. A mistake like that should be, I wouldn't say unforgivable. Like, I'm not saying fire her completely, but take her off the air. She better not be taken out of the air tomorrow.
Well, you know what? Let me be honest with you. I thought about that a lot. Do I think that she deserves some type of reprimand? Absolutely. If I were to ever be on MSNBC, I'm pretty sure I wouldn't have the levity to just be able to say certain words and get away with it. You know what I'm saying? And at first I was thinking about it, and I had to put myself exactly on that station, because there are a lot of mediums to where you can just say cracker, 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 cracker. You can say whatever you want. It just depends on your situation and where you are at. You see what I'm saying? So as black people, there are things that we can say in certain mediums that we were not able to say maybe 30 years ago. We do
Yeah.
have a latitude to say and do more, but it's mostly independent. Somebody said earlier, but in the corporate world, you can't. And that's where I have to acquiesce and say, I agree with that 100%. And that's why I do believe there does have to be some type of reprimand. Because if that was me, I would definitely be getting some type of reprimand if I said something about another group of people that they claim or that they feel is derogatory. And so,
Exactly.
yeah, and so again, like I said, we can have multiple things happen at the same time. So, man, I appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. I appreciate you always keeping it 100.
Man,
You know what
I'm
I'm saying?
trying. I'm trying. Look, I had somebody earlier, and this what it impresses me, and I've said it a few times. When you think or when you put things out the way I think, some people think that if you don't automatically take a side, then you soft or you a coon or you're not black. And it makes me think, well, who was the purveyor of blackness? Let me ask you, who is it up to determine whether somebody is black or not or black enough?
Well, honestly, that right there is something that goes deep because our culture is a misguided culture to start off with. And for somebody to say that you're not black enough just because you're not doing something that they feel in their opinion every black person needs to do is to me like it's crazy because like I said, our culture is tainted already. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So there isn't like a certain guideline. Like we don't have like a guideline on how to be black. This is what you should do. This is what you should. This how you should act, and this like that. Like you know what I'm saying, those are like stereotypes to me.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's like you're stereotyping your own people. So just because I don't agree with you on something, or I just don't want to present myself how you feel like I should be presented, I'm not black.
Yeah.
Like, nah, that's not right.
Yeah, it reminds me a lot of how the slave masters did to slaves. You know, the one that got to talking a lot and trying to get everybody to rally against the slave owner and go ahead and burn down master's house. That was the one that they would vilify. And they would even tell the other slaves, don't listen to him, he crazy. And we doing the same thing to each other. And so it just kind of impresses me.
Getting stuck in the box.
We get stuck in a box. And we don't have to be. It's very easy to disagree with somebody and still be able to respect them, especially if you guys both have your eyes on the same prize at the end of the day. We get so caught up in these to the semantics sometimes to where we miss stuff, man.
Yeah.
But hey,
yeah, and that,
go ahead.
No, I was gonna just say, yeah, that's a big problem with our society. You know what I'm saying? And because we don't agree with a certain group of people, now we're not a part of that group because you say so. Like, nah, we don't all have to be stuck in a box to be a part of this situation.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I was born into this. You can't tell me what I am and what I'm not just because of my likes and my dislikes, my beliefs and what I don't believe.
And you, my friend, you just explained what blackness is, in my opinion. I was born into this.
Exactly.
Enough said.
It wasn't a choice.
Enough said. So my opinion is my opinion. That don't change what I was born into. Now I can see if you're going out of your way to be to the detriment of black people and acquiesce to whatever somebody else wants you to do just for their own benefit. That's a different type of person. But just in general, man,
I like that word too.
Yeah, man, I think it's dangerous what we're doing to each other because I notice a lot of the same tactics that came from the slave owners are a lot of the tactics that we're using on and we putting each other to a point to where we don't even want to deal with each other. And that is, to me, white supremacy winning.
Yeah. Where they could just sit back and watch their agenda unfold without having to do anything. They're on autopilot now type stuff.
Yeah, why would they have to recreate? It's already here, and if we're going to perpetuate it, then why do anything? It's not a lot of people that want to go out and do hard work when the money come right to them. So if we taking it right to them, why would they have to advance, and why and what's going to make us advance? And so you know what, man? Thank you for calling, Marcus. I appreciate it, man. I'm gonna get to talking about some quantifiable racism, man. Thanks for calling, man.
All right, man. God bless, bro.
God bless you. Yeah. And so when I say I want to talk about quantifiable racism, I did think that, this is something that we got to keep talking about because, again, The racism that you guys are talking about, and when I say you guys, I'm not talking about everybody in general. I'm talking about the people who know for a fact that this lady is being racist. Who know for a fact, those of you, that is not quantifiable racism. That's just something that you might feel. I want to talk about this guy right here. He settled a racial discrimination lawsuit when he tried to deposit his check. The police were called. Yeah, so this is real quantifiable racism that we're about to talk about right now. This isn't about guessing or trying to figure out if there was two G's or a CK in something that could have very well been two G's and still been an accident. We don't know. We don't know what she was thinking. We don't know what was on her mind. But everybody is entitled to their thoughts and opinion. I just don't understand the matter of factness in some people's opinion when it comes to that. I just don't get it. But now this, my friends, this is something quantifiable. This is something we don't have to slow down no tape for, okay? Oh, man. Okay, let's see. Sator Thomas traveled to his bank when he was recompensated for a successful but deeply disheartening court battle. After 7 months, he hoped his legal sagas were finally finished. Instead, a new one was about to begin. The 44-year-old black man from Detroit had just settled a discrimination lawsuit with his former employer when he walked into TCF Bank in Livonia, Michigan on Tuesday. Okay? Settlement check in hand. So he had the check in his hand. A settlement check, right? And a settlement again. He tried to deposit them into his bank account. An assistant manager refused, suspecting fraud, eventually called the police. And so he goes in there with a check. And he trying to, want to bust his check. They don't want him to bust his check. So he tried to deposit the check and they call the police on the guy. And again, the check he's trying to cash is because he just won a discrimination case. And I wanted to read this because, again, we were just talking about racism that's unquantifiable racism. So I wanted to push that story up against some racism that's just right in your face. And I want you to see how sometimes we just kind of be grasping at stuff that we don't know, but this we know. This we know. This should be something that should be of more concern, okay? The confrontation did not result in an arrest or criminal charges, but it did precipitate into another racial discrimination suit, alleging that the case was banking while black. Thomas's lawyer said that this underscores the pattern of racism that people of color face while carrying quotations and tasks as walking into gardening and cooking. Okay, so I guess she's just saying, just everyday tasks. Black people run into issues. Okay, and so look, what I'm going to do is I want to play. He had to say. I'm going to play what he had to say, and we got a caller on the line. Let me play what he had to say real quick, and we're going to get to the caller.
Well, we filed a lawsuit. That happened yesterday. My legal team advised me we need to step on this immediately, and we're not going to wait. We want to be able to do it now because people need to know exactly what happened in this case. It goes to show you that TCF had an ulterior motive. They did not want to assist me because I was African American. They didn't want to assist me because they assumed that I had a fraudulent check, which was far from the truth. I want to be vindicated. I want to make sure people understand that they treat customers this way. And this was no mistake. This was not just, well, we made an error, I'm sorry. I didn't get I'm sorry. I didn't get no cup of coffee and I didn't get no donuts. The only thing I got from them was a hard time.
All right, we are back. We got a caller on the line. Caller, you on the line. What is on your mind? This is Soapbox Heroes.
Brother Tyrone.
Hey, brother, what's going on?
Just Yahshua's purpose. I guess Tyrone Davis must have been looking ahead when he made that song, Call Tyrone, because we sure called you. There's a reason to call you Tyrone. It really is. I mean, a real African-centered reason, a real reason of love. See? So let me just start. So what kick it off or set it off, as it said, in our community.
Set it off.
The first thing I want to say is that this brother is a diamond in the rough. When you talk about real African leaders, this man should be commemorated, celebrated, lauded, applauded, emulated. This man ought to be getting a Nobel Prize from us about how you conduct yourself, even in the face of domestic terrorists, man. Even the ones that have badges, mace, handcuffs, guns, and a bulletproof vest. This man gave an international classroom example. This is how you handle yourself, brothers and sisters. We know it cut deep. And this man is somebody that really we need to do something. We're trying to get him in a position where he can spread this message, man. Because he was composed, Tyrone. He was composed, man.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm an elder, bro. I got to tell you, man, that man did an example for me. Because, he was facing lethal circumstances when the pigs were called, man. He was facing it, man.
Yeah.
But the brother, he was so powerful. Now we realize the ancestors is with us all. Don't get it twisted. I know you don't, Tyrone, but this is for other listeners. I'm praising him as much as I am the creator and the ancestors that are right there at our beck and call, and they really showed up and showed out. That's the first thing I want to say about him. And secondly, what I want to say is that this underscores, and I love the fact that you use the term, quantifiable racism, and I'm going to go a bit further, not no correction, just say racism in action is discrimination.
Absolutely, okay? Yes.
So quantifiable, now that whole stuff about the mentality of white supremacists, right? Even those, black supremacists you talked about them, you didn't call them that, but the ones, that actually have been irreparably damaged by this slavery, traumatic, oppressed personality disease that we all carry. Most of us, ain't totally damaged yet. But the ones that are the ones that really create a situation where they are actually traitors.
Yep.
And I could go into detail, which includes the so-called police force.
Yep.
But anyway, I'll just say, really, I got to tell you, man, bald heads and all that, because bald heads, in our culture, has a perception of weakness for a man, a perception of weakness. And we find bald heads, and that's not saying everybody bald head is doing it, because, that they are fashionable. I'm just saying those brothers, who ain't got alopecia.
Right.
It's got a little bit, it's bald around the edges. But I'm saying, still, just research it. Don't believe what I say. Like you tell people, do your research, man. It's
right. Go look it up.
But the facts are not facts. I don't have chance for my opinion to, all I gotta say is, even though you give me facts, I'm still gonna hold on to my opinion, and that's a retard, and that's okay. Everyone has their place in this world. I just want to say, that this brother just underscores the fact that every time we leave our house, Tyrone, and sometimes, as we know, in Dallas and in Fort Worth, sometimes we don't even have to leave our house.
Right.
Those domestic terrorists are always waiting to take down an African man, and lately it's been African boys and even our African queens. They are waiting to do it. That's why I'm giving Yahweh and his brother and the ancestors the praise, because this man gave us the textbook. This is how. Don't always expect that you're going to be treated like this, because you're going into enemy territory. And then when you ain't, you just thank the Creator, thank the Savior, because it ain't because, he's married to a black girl, he got a biracial child. That ain't the reason why. No.
Right.
No, your life has been spared. That like this brother was, even though he was like that, he still could have been violated and killed and named and everything for life, man. But the fact is, man, I'm saying I'm thankful that this brother had the courage to actually do with white supremacy, racism, discrimination, what we all need to say. We need to do it together as well as individually. And that is, simply use those black codes that they created for us. We can now use them against them, Tyrone.
Yes. And I agree with you. And that's why I always say, I don't think that there's nothing that was thought of that is so powerful it can't be outthought. We just have to put things in. We have to implement things and put it into action. And so to me, to sit back and just to keep saying, well, this is happening. This is happening. Well, what's going to change it besides saying that is happening? You got to do something.
Collective action. This would be a good time for the citizens in Livonia around there to start a black credit union. Because he shouldn't have to go and put his money in no white bank. No European, Arab, Asian, Mexican. He shouldn't have to do that. He should have an African credit union. I mean, don't call it no bank. Do a credit union and don't even try to get insurance with the FDUCA or whatever they call it, credit union. Don't even let it be like a susu. You know, the African susu, which is the way that we taught them how to save money and how to go into it and borrow it and pay it back. We taught the world. We taught them that. I know you know that, Tyler. You know that.
Yeah, absolutely. We did teach them that, and we taught them numerous things, and that's part of my point with people with so much divinity, so much culture, so much knowledge. I refuse to believe that there's a social construct that is just so prevalent in thought over our thought that we could just never get past it, or never counter it, or never be able to kick it in the face. We can.
We did it. That's the oppressor sitting up in our head right there. That oppressor, both him and his girl, they sitting up there saying, you can't do it. It's been 500 years. But what about the history of what happened in the years out of chattel slavery, Tyrone?
Exactly.
200 years. This whole technological revolution they call, which we had it way back, before they even knew that they were even human. Well, we call them human, because for lack of a better term. Before they even knew they were human. We had technology that exceeds this. And guess what? It was an African men and women that created, the technology for computer, for microchips, for all of that. You see?
Math, astrology, science, and we could go on and on and on. And
under the oppression that we still suffer from, both whether it's overt or covert, we still rise like our ancestors said. My Angelou, put it all on us, brother. We still gonna rise. So I want to stop and give everyone else the opportunity, someone else to talk. I just want to say, and you keep on stoking it, because man, as an elder, I'm serious, man. When I transition, I ain't got to worry about Houston, because you're gonna be here home, and your son's gonna be here. I ain't got to worry about that.
Oh man, thanks a lot. Yeah, we're gonna be here strong doing our thing. And again, and when I talk about these things, I like to talk about them because I feel like us as black people, let's be honest, we have enough real racism to deal with, and we need to focus on what's real and know the difference of what people are throwing at us as a distraction or to keep us emotional, because at this point in time, it's big money keeping us distracted. It's big money.
That's exactly what it is, because that's what I call the WMD. The real WMD always has been the weapons of media distortion. Okay? Not the media distortion and media.
Wow.
WMD for you, brother.
Oh, wow. We need to coin that and put that on shirts, pins, and mugs.
Yeah, really. I got to say, it came from my brother, Dr. Omar Abdullah-Johnson. So, and I know he got it from somebody. So, It's all collectively ours, okay? So, feel free to use it, bro. I ain't going to be no copyright on there, bro.
All right, brother. I want to thank you for calling. I appreciate it. And hey, you guys, and look, and he makes a lot of very, very valid points as usual. And that's one of the things that I enjoy about being able to sit here and talk to different people, is hearing varying viewpoints. And then sometimes you hear people that you agree with lock and step. And I agree with saying, and that's what I mean when he says something that I say a lot. I always ask people, I say, well, how do you like your racism? Do you like it overt or do you like it covert? Which one do you like the best? Because for me, there's no excuse for neither one. There's no excuse for neither one. And again, and I'm going to harken back to the lady on MSNBC. And what I'm going to do is this. I noticed that we put so much energy into something that we cannot quantify. Nobody can honestly say they know for a fact that's what she meant. But again, we do know for a fact that this brother, he went into the bank, and he went to TCF Bank in Michigan. And he tried to cash a check, and they wouldn't cash his check. They would not cash the man's check. And here, let me go over here. There's something else. There's something else. And again, there is an overall theme to this. I'm not just talking out of the side of my neck, I'm talking out the front of my face. And the other thing is this: July 27, 2008. A black woman says Wells Fargo didn't cash her check. She's suing for discrimination. Okay. And so these things are, again, they're quantifiable. These things are things that are happening that we can reach out and touch. We don't have to run the sound back 1,000 times to see if they said GG or CK. And this is what I'm talking about. What Barbara Carroll says was meant to be a quick trip turned into a nearly 3-hour ordeal after Wells Fargo Bank, the 78-year-old black woman, of forgery. 78 years old, okay? Carroll, who holds a doctorate in criminal justice and worked as an assistant bank manager for 17 years, last week filed a suit against the country's third largest commercial bank, alleging racial discrimination. A Wells Fargo spokeswoman told the Washington Post that the bank is investigating Carroll's claims. Wells Fargo opposes discrimination of any kind. Okay? Wells Fargo says that they oppose racism of any kind. And again, and this is why I'm so focused on the racism that's not quite, the stuff we're guessing about. Did she say GG or CK, or did she try to say Knicker? Was she thinking Knicks and said Lakers? And we don't know. If you're saying for a fact, you're lying. You're lying. And if you're saying it because you want to believe something. And I get it. And I said earlier, I understand, because it's like when you trap something and you mistreat that thing, and that thing gets in the corner, it wants to see you get bit every chance that's possible. And so I do think that's a lot what's going on. We've been marginalized so much that, hey, if somebody white do something, I don't care if she meant it or not, get rid of her. But and again, this is why I'm talking about the racism that is tangible, quantifiable. So let's go back. Wells Fargo pays $175 million in a race discrimination probe. All right. And we're going back to 2012. Okay. Because this is something that has been going on and is being very persistent, and it hasn't stopped. Charlotte, North Carolina / Washington. This is from Reuters. Wells Fargo & Co. agreed to a $175 million lawsuit to resolve allegations it charges African Americans and Hispanics higher fees on mortgages even when they qualify for better deals during the housing boom, the U.S. Justice Department said on Thursday. The settlement is the last of the Obama administration's effort to eliminate discriminatory lending practices, which contributed to high mortgage default rates in many poor neighborhoods when the housing bubble burst. And so, look, real quick, I'm going to stop and I'm going to put a pin in that. When we're having this conversation about what Obama did and what Obama didn't do, I'm going to have to go ahead and give him his credit on that. I got to give him his credit on that. And again, this isn't holding the water for anything. This is just calling it for how it is. It's calling it for how it is again. Obama, and that was what he did. Okay, and I'm looking for the last thing that he did in the U.S. Department. Okay, the bank settled with the statement solely for the purposes of Okay, the settlement was the latest. And again, and when I'm reading this, I have to remember that this is 2012 and that I'm going back just to come back forward and to show that these things have permeated and stopped. But I do want to read that again. It says the settlement is the latest in the Obama administration's effort to eliminate discriminatory lending practices, which contributed to high mortgage default rates in many poor neighborhoods when the housing bubble burst. Okay. In its consent order with the government, Wells Fargo says that it treated all of its customers fairly and without regard to race or national origin. The bank said that the statement it was settling the matter solely for the purpose of avoiding contested litigation with the U.S. Justice Department. Wells Fargo now funds 1 out of every 3 mortgages in the United States. So Wells Fargo say that they didn't do it, that they were just, they just paid out, $175 million, which isn't that much money when you're spreading it amongst 36,000 people for discriminating. Okay. A government investigation found 3,400 instances of Wells Fargo charging African Americans and Hispanics higher fees and rates on mortgages compared with white borrowers with similar credit profiles, according to the documents filed by the U.S. District Court of the Columbia District, of the District of Columbia. Okay, and again, I bring that up for a reason. I'm bringing that up because, hey, we're talking about some unquantifiable racism that, we can't ever really prove. And what I'm trying to illustrate is, are we kind of wasting our time when we got banks actually discriminating on black people to where they're settling for $175 million because, hey, they don't want to go to court. They don't want to go to court and have to actually face the music. And again, that was 2012. And we also got to remember Wells Fargo was also sued in 2015. I mean, again, and if I'm not mistaken, again, last year, no, the year before, in 2018. And so now this is something where people are going to go get mortgages. They're going to go do something and try to, I guess, create what people would consider generational wealth. A lot of people are going out trying to start their lives and get loans and set their family up for prosperity, a place to live, going out for the American dream or whatever you want to call it. And right here, we got a company like Wells Fargo discriminating on black people specifically as much as they possibly can. As much as they can and as much as they want to. And we are going to spend our time parsing through the weeds to try to figure out if this lady said GG or CK. My question is this: are you still going to go bank at Wells Fargo, even though you know that they have historically discriminated against black people? Are you going to hop in your car tomorrow and go bank at Wells? Or are we going to keep having like this whole selective outrage thing? Which one is it? Which one is it going to be? Which one is it going to be? And that's why I bring up these other things, is because I feel that there's a need sometimes to show people that, there are other things going on in this world besides whatever somebody want to throw out there to make us mad at. And let's say this. Let's say, what if she did mean it? Let's say she meant it with all her heart. Let's say she planned it. She went out there and she said to herself, tomorrow, or today, I am going to say the N-word live on national television. I'm going to say, and see, look, and that's how you slip up on the word. I was thinking one thing and I said something else. But what if she said, I'm going to go out here and just say this on national TV, and you know what? Forget it. I'm going to say it, and I don't care what they think. My question to you is, what would you do? Are you still going to turn in to MSNBC and hear what they have to say and watch the commentary? Or are you going to follow this lady and make sure she never gets a job again? Are you going to make sure that they didn't just fire her for aesthetics and rehire her as a producer on another station or in another division? What are you going to do? What are you going to do? And then look, we're again, Wells Fargo wasn't the only bank. Bank of America Corp. Countrywide Financial Unit agreed in December to pay a record $335 million for similar charges. All right. Then they also had litigation in 2009 and 2010 on behalf of African American and Hispanic borrowers in Pennsylvania. Wells Fargo also resolved a lawsuit filed by the city of Baltimore in 2008. The bank engaged in reverse redlining or intentionally targeting minorities for predatory mortgage loans, leading to high foreclosure in minority neighborhoods. U.S. Bank historically refrained from making any loans in many minority neighborhoods, a practice known as redlining. And this is going on in current times. I'm not talking about 1934. I'm not talking about, 1916. I'm not talking about right after post-slavery. I'm talking about a couple days ago. I'm talking about you probably wouldn't put your money in Wells Fargo that day, but we're going to sit up and we're going to keep going over. Rather, somebody said something that we cannot quantify when we have so much quantifiable racism. They're the third largest home lender in the country. And we're in a time where people are out trying to, like I said, live the American dream. Live the American dream. So that's my question. When we have so much tangible, quantifiable racism, how much time are we going to spend on things that we have to grasp at straws about and guess about? I want you to think about that real quick. Want you to think about that. Look, Sacramento, they just keep coming up. They just keep coming up. The city of Sacramento accused Wells Fargo of long-standing pattern and practice of illegal lending in low-income communities that reduce home values, limit property tax revenue, and drove up foreclosure. Wells Fargo's discriminatory lending practices place vulnerable, underserved borrowers in loans they cannot afford. In a lawsuit that was filed, okay? The city says 4 anonymous former mortgage employees at Wells Fargo confirmed that the bank intentionally steered minority borrowers into higher loan costs because of their race and ethnicity. Now, again, you guys, this is quantifiable. This is quantifiable. These things are happening in our face. And again, I guess the question would be, what's the difference between an enthusiast and an activist? An activist would say, I'm going to pull my money and I'm going to bank black. In fact, Martin Luther King Day just passed, right? And we all celebrated Martin Luther King. But are we leaving out the tenets, the 5 things that he asked us to do to carry on after his death? One of them were banking black. One of them were going out of your way to spend money with black people. And I don't know, maybe if we did that, I wouldn't even have to be reading these Wells Fargo stories. And it makes me wonder if we spent half of the time creating things and creating institutions and things to pass on to our generations after us, if we spent half the time doing that as we did trying to figure out what white people were doing, we would be so far further along. Yeah, I said it. Why not? I'm going to say it again. If we spent half of the time creating our own institutions, our own lane, our own educational process, our own things, if we spent half the time worrying about our own house as we did worrying about somebody else's house, our house would be eons better than it is now. Eons better than it is now. Instead of us worrying about whether she said GG or CK, why aren't we focused on Wells Fargo getting over on us in a mass? Why aren't we focused on the fact that they were testifying in front of Congress a few months ago? But instead of paying attention to that, I guarantee you there has been more traffic about what this lady may have meant or may have not have meant than all the traffic combined on when Wells Fargo was up there lying their butts off a couple months ago about how they discriminate against us. But that's okay. We don't want to talk about that. We don't want to talk about that. We want to talk about little ancillary things. We want to take our eye off the prize to look at last place. When it comes to race, it's about resources and who could get the most resources for their group of people by classification, and that's why people are classified. This is my opinion. And if we want those resources, we can't keep looking at them. Look, I ran track for a long time. And I didn't lose many races. I think I maybe had lost 4 races ever. And I guarantee you on every single one of those races, the reason I lost the race, well, one reason I was little, I was of a lack of confidence They jumped out in front of me, and I just didn't feel like I could do it when the truth was I could. And that was as a child, as a little child. And it broke my heart because I felt like, you know what, I'm just as good as them. And as I grew up, I ended up figuring out, hey, I'm not just as good as them. I'm better than them cats, right? And so then the other couple of races that I lost as I grew up was because I was running down the track, but I was looking at my competitor. I was running down the track looking at my competitor. You can't win a sprint looking at your competitor. You can't win a marathon, especially in them last couple of feet before you cross that tape, if you're so busy looking at your competitor. If your competitor is looking straight trying to win the race and you looking at your competitor, you are never going to beat that competitor. And if you think that competitor is going to slow down in order to give you a chance to catch up, it don't work like that. It don't work like that. It does not work like that. So, hey, you guys, look, we had a wonderful show. It was a lot to talk about, and I thank everybody. I always want to thank everybody who took their time to participate, to call in and say something, because it is much appreciated by me. It is much appreciated by me. I love the conversation. I love the back and forth. I love the fact that we can have these conversations and not hate each other at the end of the day. Hey, you guys, this is Soapbox Heroes. My name is Tyrone Irvin. It was wonderful, a blessing to be able to be here with you guys today. Hey, I'll catch you guys tomorrow, same place, same time.
The thing of politics in this country is that politics plays upon the individual. And one of the mistakes of the movement has been that we have been a victim of that whole thing of the individual. See, the man always points out an individual and he tells you that's your leader. He says that's your leader. Well, you have to examine what he's doing. When he pushes a guy out there and says that that's your leader, he also understands that he can pull that cat in. He can destroy that cat when he gets ready. So we must begin to relate to concepts, not individuals. See, don't like what's wrong with Carmichael and the Panthers. Understand what they both are saying. If you understand the ideology that they're pushing, that's sufficient. Then you take a side on that ideology. Don't take a side on the personalities. So you have to understand the difference. You have to understand the difference between concepts and personalities. See, the man, he found out it's very easy to destroy an individual or to discredit an individual, but it's much more difficult to discredit a concept or an idea. So what he does is that he pushes individuals out. He tells you this is your leader. Black people will decide when they need leaders, and they will decide who their leaders are. At this point, our job becomes those people to the struggle. Our job becomes to organize black people, to organize for revolutionary struggle, not to be projected as leaders. And at this point, the only force in the black community that will be able to wield a revolutionary ideology will be a political party. A party that pushes that ideology, some type of apparatus that speaks to black people. Because if you don't have an apparatus, if you don't develop alternatives for people, then the people are shoveled right back into the system. And you say, well, see, the role of the vanguard in any revolutionary struggle is to lead. When it ceases to lead, it ceases to be the vanguard. The vanguard is no more than... And people have to understand, people with certain skills, that's your role. Students, that's your role. You have to occupy the vanguard position in the struggle because you have certain skills, because you can do certain things. You cannot divorce yourself from that community. You cannot set your college apart from the community that you came from. See, down south, what happens down south in black is that when they build a black university, there is usually a physical boundary. It's a railroad track or a lake or something that separates that black university from the black community. And so what happens is automatically black students begin to assume that they're different from the people on the other side of the tracks. So all of a sudden they get scared to go out there where they got to buy their wine, because that's all they go across store. They get scared to go out there because they think it's an entirely different person on the other side of the track. Again, the man is divided. He's made black people think that they're different. That's that's a luxury we cannot afford. You have to understand in terms of how the man moves, how oppression comes down. He stratifies the community. You examine what happened in terms of the Jews in Germany. He didn't just ramp on the Jews. He got them segment by segment, in other words. The rich Jews say, well, he ain't gonna mess with us. He just getting them poor Jews, them troublemakers. The same thing happens here in the black community. During the rebellion, black people who were doctors and who were professionals said, well, they ain't gonna mess with us. They just getting the lawbreakers. But doctors got caught out there in Newark, and the cop whooped his head till it broke like Oakley. Then he started talking about we and us.
KCOH Houston, Legacy, Six and Soul. 1230, The Source.
All right, y'all know. Hey, I thank you guys for tuning in. I appreciate it. Thank you over to YouTube. If you're on Facebook, go over to YouTube and subscribe to the Soapbox Hero channel. And tomorrow, if you guys get a chance, tomorrow, look at that. Yeah, tomorrow at this time, you'll at 7, we do the feature of Dirty After Work for Fall Conversation. So, check us out. But go to the KCOH Source website and make sure you check the screen because we don't really broadcast it live. We can't get too much delay because we're so what we do broadcast live. So go check it out.